Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here with us today. Super happy. I'm Flav from the Blockchain Game Alliance. And we're going to, obviously, for the whole afternoon, we're going to have a diversity of different talks around blockchain and gaming and starting in terms of infrastructure. Like, obviously, the kind of thing you may had um, seen was when you tried to explain blockchain gaming, the first thing you said is actually from this concept of ownership, which is definitely something very important. And that's actually something you see in the report, like the yearly report that we launch. And the last one we launched as well, ownership is always the first one where we need to explain the top benefit of blockchain gaming. Although there are definitely a lot of other things we would like to talk about, like helping game developers and game publishers, gaming studio to generate new revenue streams. So that's the kind of thing we're going to talk about as with the perspective of an infrastructure. So super pleased to have our three members of the BGA and three speakers with us today to talk about that and highlight a little bit more about what they do and how they leverage the infrastructure they're building for game developers. So without any further ado, I would love you guys to just introduce yourself, starting with you, Alex.
Hey everyone, I'm Alex Kosloff. I'm head of sales at Altura. I'm also a BGA board member. Altura makes it very easy to integrate blockchain into games.
Quick and simple. Hi, how are you guys? I'm Isaac Lazoff, head of BD at Snickerdoodle Labs. We're the cookies of Web3. So we're empowering users to take ownership of their data, and then we're building ad networks to allow users to monetize their data and give more insights into brands.
Hello, my name is Hayder. So my background is coming from a technology background. I used to work at Consensus. We spun out a company there called Community Gaming. I resigned from Community Gaming about a year and a half ago, and less than a year ago I started a new company called Whalepass. And at Whalepass we help game developers get discovered through a very unique way where they can create a campaign from within their game that I hope we can maybe delve into today.
Hey, perfect. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for that. And I think we can dig into that right now. And beginning with you as well. Around these, what I said. Like obviously, ownership is a big factor to explain blockchain in gaming. But you, as you building an infrastructure, what kind of conversation you want to have with your target audience or game developers when you want to express the necessity to tokenize your assets in terms of new ways to generate revenue?
Yeah.
You should be okay, but if you...
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I think the best way to think about it is by looking at Steam. What they're doing has been amazing, but mostly for Valve, not really for the game developer. What we're doing in Web3, the way I like to take a look at it in Web3 gaming, you're basically building that same infrastructure that Steam empowers you to do, but without Valve taking that 30%. And I think that's a very big value proposition for a game developer to tokenize their assets.
It's gonna be the same question for you, Isaac, because you're helping not only game companies but a diversity of publishers because we're talking about the monetization of advertisements. So same thing for your target audience. What kind of conversation you have with them in terms of how they could actually monetize things?
Yeah, so the way that we see it is, our model, users own their data. So they're actually sharing that consent with third parties like games or any other type of DApp. And now then DApp is actually able to monetize their audience, which allows them to then share in the revenue with their users. So in our model, we believe that brands are going to be able to monetize and drive more user acquisition for their audience and then share that revenue back with their user base. So hopefully users can make more money and also the brands can also increase their revenue.
For gaming specifically, how do you see that as I said, it's very diverse in the kind of activities you have, but for gaming, how do you see that specifically going into your model?
Yeah, so for games, it's going to be more on like probably the loyalty and retention side. As they go and collect more data on their users, they can actually personalize that gaming experience based on who that user is, what type of other games they're using, what other NFTs that they have. So based on that data, they could actually personalize that experience to increase the retention and hopefully revenue as well.
Awesome. Alex, same question for you.
Sure. Tell me the question again.
It's really obviously you're building infrastructure for game developers, and you're helping a lot of games. Some of them they are members of the BGA as well. So what kind of you have a target audience helping these game developers to understand the value of tokenizing the digital assets and what kind of revenue they could get from it. So how do you explain that to them?
Yeah, of course. So when I talk to a lot of these Web2 studios that they're making their first blockchain game, like they know a lot of the benefits already. And, Web2 games are making plenty of revenue. We don't have to create something completely new. So we just want to make it very easy for them to do everything that they can do in games. So whether that's we have a whole minting platform, we have a wallet solution and a marketplace, so they can easily integrate blockchain while adding like really fun features in the game that people want to spend money on. Like people spend money in games not as an investment, not because they're going to sell it later, but because they like playing with that asset in the game. So I think first you got to make the game fun, and then just make it very easy for these players to buy these assets, to do these things. So like, for example, with Altura, you can create smart NFTs. You can upgrade or downgrade these NFTs very easily. So people really enjoy that. But we also have burnable NFTs where a user could be playing the game. They could buy a potion in game for 10 cents without stopping gameplay, without accepting a transaction. It's totally normal. And then when they use that potion, they drink it, they get that power up.
I think. Yeah. Okay. We're actually expecting some storms, so
Okay.
maybe here we are.
But yeah, so we make it very easy for them that they can use this burnable NFT inside the game and easily transact inside the game, and it's very smooth for them. And as long as we make it easy, they're gonna continue to spend money inside the game.
Got it. Is it okay with the sound for everyone? I know that we want to open the door for everyone, but yeah, okay, no complaint, perfect. So obviously the subject that you don't see anymore on screen, but I'm gonna put that on again, is around the untapped potential of blockchain-based gaming rewards, or the rewarding model with blockchain technologies. And one aspect of it is when you first discover a game, how you could incentivize the player to be already on board. So the discovery channel are very important, and on that part, discovering a new game is something you're working on your side, Hayder. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that. How could you announce the discovery phase of a game, and how could you incentivize player to participate from day one?
So when we first started Whalepass, we set out to build infrastructure that we were seeing being utilized by questing providers, but we wanted it to be used from within the game. Because if you think the parallel for a questing system from within the game, that would be the live ops that you would be running there. So if you're running a battle pass, at the end of the day, that's a quest. And if you're running a few other challenges here and there, that's also a quest. So we built that infrastructure, and we made it really easy to use. It's plug and play. And then we went out into the market to kind of understand, like, what is it like out there. We went to a lot of different game conferences, a few of them in Istanbul, went to GDC, and we found one thing in common. There is a whole lot of game developers out there who are trying to promote themselves, and they're trying to get discovered. They might try to go viral on TikTok or Twitter, or maybe they run a crowdfunding campaign. They put themselves on Steam for getting wish lists. And then they would try to approach a publisher and say, hey, let me get this game to the next level. And how can I do that? So we decided to cater to that audience because there's so many of them. So here at ECC, we decided to release Discover.games. It is our B2C side of the business, and the aim is to do exactly that, to help games get discovered. So many of you here, I'm sure, are familiar. Yeah. No. Yeah. I'll explain. Yeah, so I don't know if you're familiar with itch.io. It's a place where different developers would put their game demos, but a lot of times, only other people that would be looking at itch.io are other game developers. So you're promoting right in front of your peers, so it's not really increasing your circle of awareness. So we want to increase that circle, and we want to help game developers utilize what the promotional aspect of Web3. So imagine it as a co-op service. Instead of having to become a Web3 company or a technology company, you can stay as a normal game studio, but you can utilize all of those um, interesting ways in which we in Web3 would bring in users and incentivize them to do different actions. So at that stage, when you have just a demo or a few different assets for your game, you can utilize the Whalepass developer dashboard to create an interesting campaign that you can roll out into your game demo. Because it takes you maybe like one day to create that campaign, roll it out into your game or your game demo, and integrate it as well. And it will automatically start showing on the discover.games page for that game demo. And this will help kind of create a glorified version of Steam wishlist. So instead of the player 6 months later, when the game gets released, says, "Hey, the game that you wishlisted is now ready. Come check it out." It will say, "Hey, the game that you played, that you checked out and got these 2 rewards from, well, the rewards are now actually, you can see them in the game, so come check them out." So yeah, this is our take, and there's some other interesting things that we're doing in the future, but this is what's available right now.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. You talk a little bit about that, about the vision of Snickerdoodle and why we need to disrupt, as an industry in the blockchain, we need to disrupt the advertisement industry in terms of collecting that data. I think we're all into the blockchain ecosystem for also one of those reasons as well. So how can these new ad network could actually support games in terms, you talk about that a little bit in terms of user acquisition and retention exactly. How could you help them build an advertisement system for the games?
Yeah, so the way that we see it is it's all about giving back to the community, right? At the end of the day, users have all this data all over the internet. So it's all about allowing users to actually build their best data lake to really build the most accurate value of who that user is and allowing them to share that with games. Once the game has that data, the game could really tailor that experience directly to users. So the way that we're leveraging our ad network is instead of the Facebook, the Googles, the Amazons making all the money themselves, it's all about sharing that value back with users themselves for them to be able to generate more revenue, also adding value to publishers to allow publishers to also generate revenue whenever they're incentivizing the user to create the action, somewhat like an affiliate network. And then very similar to what Hayder's doing on the questing side, the way that we power our ad network is users need to go through sort of questing models. And then once they go through that questing model, then they're actually able to earn or claim the token that brand or that game is offering. So it's adding a lot of different aspects to the traditional ad system today to really drive more value to the end user, and then give more data to the brand or more personalized experience to drive that retention that the brand's looking for.
So another way to provide a community tool for the games. Same thing, you mentioned community tools on your side, Alex, like you have some of them. And you talk about, wasn't the perfect term, so you will correct me, but this evolving NFT as well that you highlight, why and how they are actually important for game developers to leverage on the game to reward players.
Yeah, great question. So the why and how is because we want to make it fun for the user so that they like playing the game. But as far as community tools, we have a bunch of different tools that they can use. We have a very large community. They can jump in our Discord, talk about the game. In our Telegram, we encourage that. We also just launched a $1 million grant fund where we're dedicating $50K each month to one lucky project, and and we have a token, and our token holders get a 1-to-1 ratio vote. So they can vote for each project each month, and then the projects are pitching them, and they're talking about the game, and the players are going there and everything. As far as other community tools, like there's really big clubs, I guess, and projects that you can partner up with, like Neo Tokyo and Superverse and Mochaverse, and I think those are great. And all the other community-driven tools like SocialFi and everything is great for user acquisition and getting users introduced to your platform, but I don't think it's really sustainable, because like the reward shouldn't be an airdrop or anything. The reward should be that they like playing the game. So if you have to like force them with tokens and everything to play the game, like that's kind of tough. I think first things first is you want to make a game that they actually like playing, and then the game will keep that economy within the game. You're not going to have players come, extract their token, sell it, and then go do something else. So yeah, at the end of the day, like it's great for if you want investing, it's great for, stuff like that, but you got to make the game fun.
Definitely. Okay, perfect. I think we got the full picture about how you're actually helping game developers in terms of how we could reward, incentivize players to be a part of these the games they are developing. Now maybe a debate we could start, because you talked a little bit about that already. When we talk about rewards, incentivizations, and blockchain, we talk about token. You obviously followed the trend from the beginning of this year in the blockchain gaming space with the token launch everywhere, a drop everywhere for a token. It's part of the blockchain gaming culture a little bit as well. So the question will be, do we need a token to reward players? Do we only need that, or do we really at least need a token to have a reward mechanism into the game? So would love to have your opinion on that. I don't know who would like to start.
I'll start. There's pros and cons to tokens. I think if you have a sustainable economy, the game is fun. A token's great. It's a blockchain and NFTs. I think it's like a superior framework for digital assets, for exchanging money and everything. So at the end of the day, like it works. But there are a lot of cons with a token, and we have a token, so I know, like, let's say, for example, you're a game and you're building a great game and it's fun, but, something happened in the market and every token dropped. Like, they're going to look at that token and say, oh, the token's down, the game must be down. So that correlation there is kind of tough, and the game doesn't have to launch a token. There's plenty of other tokens out there that they can use. So I think it's good. I think they can be patient, because once you open that can of worms, like you cannot close that.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't think you need a token, but if the token benefits your business model, why not? But I think the tokens have really been used more as like a way to raise money. And I think, look, any game does need millions of dollars or tens of millions or sometimes even
It helped us, yeah.
To really be able to build the best game. So if the token model is the fastest, easiest way to raise the capital, do it. But you better find a productive way of really incentivizing the users to keep that value up. If not, the value drops. And I think, as mentioned, if your token starts dropping, people assume the game's not doing as well, and then your users don't want to play it anymore, especially if you're doing like a share to earn or a play to earn type of model. So it sort of creates like a tornado effect, where then all of this sort of disappears in a blink of an eye. So it's, you have to find the right business model and why you're launching, the why and how. I guess.
So yeah, I'll have to agree that why not? Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't make sense. So the one thing I want to mention about this is launching a token for a project without vetting it is how we got the bad rep for Web3 gaming, and that's the main thing we should stay away from. So at Discover Games, we are planning multiple phases in which a project can get engaged with us. So getting listed, of course, is very simple, very straightforward. Next thing is what I spoke about earlier, where you reward folks from game demo. Next up, after that, the next set of vetting is like if you really like what you're seeing, you can stake your tokens. You could stake maybe some of your partner's tokens or something like that towards that game. And then you can see how much incentive there is for folks that want to see this game get finalized. And then the final version, step number 4, would be a token generation event. So you need some sort of way for you to get there. And then, yeah, if this token is related to the game and you plan to have the players come and share that economy, that's fantastic. Yeah, we should definitely continue doing that.
I have to agree. I do think that the real conversation is maybe, do you need a token launch, or could you repurpose NFTs as a way to raise money? So I do believe that like in-game assets do provide a lot of value to users, and it's another way to be able to raise money without launching a token that could potentially collapse at some point. So it's, again, figure out your business model and play around with that.
I love it. Thank you. If anyone has some question, let us know as well. It's a free opportunity for you to ask questions to the perfect artist. Obviously, I have other questions for you, but just in case.
Hello, gentlemen. Hello, everyone. So the question is, how do you feel? Why Web2 games, Web2 game developers, indie developers, they should build? How can we, or you, or how can we attract more developers? Because from my perspective, the main issue is not technical issue. It is user acquisition, and it is the publishing. How can we disrupt the publish industry in the publishing? Not triple A's. We're not talking about the triple A's studios. They don't need us. They don't need blockchain. What? How? How can we do that?
I guess the question is, how do you convince the gaming industry about the benefit of tokenizations?
It's one of the. Yeah, it's all about.
It definitely an all conversation. Should be a panel, actually.
I'll start again. So I do think that like 95% of the web studios out there are familiar and interested in blockchain and probably will make a blockchain game. I think they're patient. They're waiting for the tech to catch up. Like I do disagree. You know, the tech is getting better every day, but we're not quite there yet. So there's no reason to onboard, a billion Web2 users. I do think blockchain and Web3 is a better framework than what's currently out there. So eventually, like, everyone will come. But at the end of the day, my thesis is that someone's going to make a Web3 game. It's going to pop. It's going to be great. And then normal players aren't going to play a game that doesn't have Web3 elements to it. And then when that happens, every studio is going to have to come on board because the players are pushing the studios. So hopefully that happens pretty soon, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think everything needs to be Web3. It doesn't need to be like a Web3 full, like 100% game. I think it's finding the balance. I think there's a lot of like traditional games that could benefit from the utility that the blockchain technology could offer their users, especially on the data ownership side or the asset ownership side. So it's finding that balance. But I do think that someone needs to be the guinea pig, and we haven't seen that first super successful game. Yes, we've seen games that have raised a lot of money that are considered successful, but I don't think we've seen the mass onboarding of users and a successful game that's been around for 2-3 years that's going to bring in like the traditional Web 2 games to say, yeah, you know what, I want to stop doing what I'm doing, I want to rebuild everything. And to repeat, or maybe to fix what I'm saying, it's not about rebuilding everything. It's about taking one sliver of what they're doing on the revenue side and multiplying it, because the blockchain technology is going to allow them to make more revenue and create a better experience.
That's that.
So I think what you're saying is how can we get a better version of game publishers, and also why are they not accepting enough games? So it's multiple problems. I think game publishers are definitely ready for being disrupted. Because their ways are very old, they take too much, that's for sure, especially from indie game developers. Mobile studios, they really get screwed. I live in Istanbul, and when I speak with them, there's a lot of mobile studios there. It's kind of sometimes like a deal with the devil. Like you have to create like 5 different games, and then they run ads on them and see what's gonna happen. It's insane. So something has to change there. And then the other problem is that there are too many people creating video games nowadays. So there's a huge supply of games, and not enough game developers are accepting them. How can we maybe get to market faster without needing game publishers at some point? Some games maybe can just get out there. I think blockchain can definitely be part of that answer, and I think we're trying to figure out how.
Part of it. Part of the part of the process for any game companies to develop some reward mechanism within the game is to learn more about the players, so who they are, how they spend time into the games and everything. So they need data to enable their ability to actually provide something within the game with rewards mechanism and everything. So I'm not talking about blockchain at any case, but blockchain could be a part of it. And something we see is that in order to have the data, they also capitalize on a lot on advertisement. They spend a lot, and it's harder and harder to actually get value from what they pay for, with the kind of things you could do in advertisement. So it's very tough for them to pay for click per install and all these metrics we need to take care when we talk about gaming. So talking about that, we see in the ecosystem that it's tough to get valuable data as well. Like we saw the IFDA being restricted, so the identifier for advertiser. How can blockchain help for that? Like how we could learn more about what our players are, who they are, and what are they doing?
So I can take that one. Yeah, so at Snickerdoodle, what we've done is we've created something called a cookie vault, which allows a user to actually like centralize all their data on their own device. We're also creating passkey integrations for them to be able to link multiple devices. But in our world, users are able to collect 3 different types of data. One's gonna be like self-indexing all their on-chain transactional data, their wallet behavior, or even in the future potentially bringing on their credit card history, what they're buying in other places. Behavioral data being connecting all their different social apps to be able to also index and onboard all their different data across other apps that they're playing or what they're doing. And sort of the last one's going to be more like first-party self-reported data, which is going to be their survey data. Once a user connects all these different data sets where they personally store all this data on their own device, we have no access to it. That they're able to actually consensually share that data with games or other parties to really give them a better understanding anonymously of who that user is, what they like, what they don't like, to really improve not only the ad tech to deliver the best ad for that user, hopefully lowering that cost, but because that user is also consenting to share that data, that user is also opting in to actually receiving rewards from that brand, whatever audience that they're engaging with, to also sharing that value that they're generating. So in our model, that's users able to control their data and also be able to share in that value.
Awesome. Anyone want to jump on that?
Yeah, so I see something else about IDFA that is very interesting. So now, when it existed, or when it wasn't so restricted about 4 years ago, it was a huge tool for publishers that have multiple mobile games within their network to cross-advertise. So this would be a really good way to keep the players within that same network. If you're playing mobile game A, then you're likely to switch to mobile game B because you're going to see the ads in there. So they kind of had their own interoperability going on. And that's something we've been talking about for so long in blockchain. Maybe not full interoperability where the character would show up in all of your favorite games, but interoperability through promotion, through access and trade. Those things that can happen right now, and they can be a great replacement for what Apple lost, basically.
Wonderful. I think we are at the end of the panel, so thank you a lot, gentlemen, for sharing insight you have based on what you're working on. And obviously you are around, so if anyone has some question to these wonderful guys, you can chat with them outside. Thanks again. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.